after you've had 48 hours to take a deep breath.
I've taken a lot of deep breaths.
Listen, you're going to go first. Yourself. I want you to go first. This is the first time maybe in the history of the show I want you to go first. Should I get a lawn chair?
No.
And maybe something to drink?
It's, you know what, I just, the frustration, obviously, look, I was with Gerard Gallant since he was 10 years of age, okay? He worked for me for 9 years in Columbus, and a big deal yesterday was that I fired Gerard. Well, we've talked about when I had to fire Gerard, and it was an awful situation for me, and I was forced to do it at the time. And I told Gerard that at the time. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I was shocked when he got fired, and I guess I shouldn't have been, because I heard this in the summer that Tom Rowe was eventually be the coach of the Panthers. And I think it goes back a long way. I think it goes back when the ownership group made a decision to let Dale Talon go. They brought Tom Rowe in.
They promoted Dale Talon.
Well, yeah. They brought in Tom Rowe as associate GM, and that was their doing. And then eventually
Dale... Your assumption is that they pushed Dale aside.
They pushed Dale aside. And then, so that was fine, and they have a reasonably good year. Like, they have 103 points. They set a franchise record. And I think going into the playoffs, Doug Cifu, the 5% owner of the team, said, we want to play the Islanders. And it was like, are you kidding me? They just said that? Then they lose that series. And it was a really tough loss for the organization. They didn't expect to lose. So I think Gerard got in, I think the pressure mounted at that particular time. And it continued to mount. And I think it's a situation where the analytics group have taken over the organization. They call the shots. There's one of the analytics guys that has a direct ear to the owner, and he sends who the line should be and all. I mean, it's just a different way. I've grown to have some respect for analytics as long as it's a tool and not the end all and be all. So Gerard gets fired 20 games in, a game over 500, missing Huberdeau and Bukestad. I thought it was one of the most bizarre firings I've seen in a long time. But it was nothing to do with that, in my opinion. This was a plan for a long time. So then, I get into it yesterday, and I feel kind of bad about that, but I've got Doug Cifu evaluating my management 9 years in the NHL, saying, give me shots, and I'm thinking, first of all, I don't think he's qualified to evaluate my career. But secondly, from today on, I am anxious to evaluate the Florida Panther management team moving forward. That's my job, and I'm looking forward. I don't wish them bad luck. I really don't. I've had a long affiliation, but I'm going to evaluate the Florida Panthers management from today on. And I hope, look, they've got a good team. They dismantled a 103-point team this summer. And 20 games in, they make a coaching. They dismantled a 47-win team. So now they're good enough. Well, they had 10 new players. Yeah. 10 new players this year.
Well, because of some injuries, too.
Right. So now they go in, and they still have a good team that was really put together by Dale Talon. So they have a good team. They still are good enough to win. I had them picked to finish in third in the Atlantic. That's where I had them picked prior to the season. We'll see what happens. I find it, as a hockey guy, frustration, because I think the world of Gerard Gallant. And I just thought it was wrong.